these are the best new gaming laptops coming out in 2026 from every brand. But first, we'll start with the CPU and GPU news so we know what these new laptops will actually have inside. As for Nvidia, no news about new GPUs, just that they've got DLSS 4.5 now with a second generation transformer model, and multi-frame gen now goes up to 6x, so 5 generated frames per one real frame. Soon DLSS is gonna be good enough to generate this entire video from one frame. Okay, but seriously, what's more interesting is they're adding dynamic frame generation, where more frames are only generated if more performance is actually needed, rather than all gameplay constantly being stuck at a higher multiplier. And both come out in spring. And from AMD, still no GPU news there either. They've got some new laptop processors, the Ryzen 400 series, but it's still based on the same Zen 5 they had last year. So more or less the same level of performance that we could get in 2025. The only difference seems to be that some chips like the 475, 470, and 450 have a 100MHz higher max boost clock, and they now support faster memory with faster NPUs. They've also got updated 12-core and 8-core versions of their Strix Halo chips with better graphics. The Radeon 8060S. So the same GPU as the 16-core version found in products like ASUS's Flow Z13 last year, but now with some more GPU power on the lower core count options. As for Intel, they've got their new Core Ultra Series 3 laptop processors, aka Panther Lake, and these are found in thinner and lighter laptops like ASUS's Zephyrus G14 and G16. Intel's spec sheet shows them maxing out with 16 cores and threads, but the breakdown for all of these is only 4 P-cores, then 8 E-cores, and 4 LPE cores. What's more interesting is some of them are paired with Intel's new B390 graphics, which Intel claims beats their last-gen integrated graphics in games by 76%. Intel also claims to beat AMD's integrated graphics in gaming by 82%, so that could be interesting in the handheld space, or maybe even the lower-end laptop space. According to Intel, their integrated graphics can beat Nvidia's RTX 4050 running at 60 watts, which is quite impressive if true. Unfortunately, there's no news on the higher-tier HX processors just yet. My understanding is there's a small refresh for those coming in spring, and those are the sort of processors that we'll see in higher-end gaming laptops. I've seen lots of press releases from different laptop brands just list new Core Ultra 200HX series. So it sounds to me that at least Intel are keeping the same naming scheme for their processor refresh this generation, rather than pulling in AMD and giving their laptop processors a whole new lineup name, just for a 100MHz boost. Alright, as for actual laptop brands, let's start out with ASUS. This year, ASUS are bringing the Zephyrus Duo 16 back, but instead of the smaller rectangle screen down the bottom like last gen, now it's got 2 full 16-inch 120Hz OLED touchscreens, making it the first dual 16-inch gaming laptop with over 21 inches of total diagonal screen space. The detachable Bluetooth keyboard can be used on the second screen to use it in a standard laptop mode, or you can run it in all sorts of different orientations with the 90-degree kickstand and 320-degree hinge rotation, and this means better cooling is possible when you don't run it with the air intakes pressed against the desk. The Duo has up to Intel's Core Ultra 386H processor and RTX 5090 graphics at 135 watts, and it's got the same 90Wh battery as the Zephyrus G16. And speaking of the G16, it also goes up to Intel's latest 386H processor this year, and although it still goes up to the RTX 5090 graphics just like last gen, the GPU power limit has been boosted from 130 watts to 160 watts with an improved cooling design. So I'd be very surprised if the 5070 Ti version didn't also see an increase from its 125 watts last gen up to the full 140 watts that Nvidia allows. The G16 has a new OLED display with up to 1100 nits of peak brightness, though that's in HDR mode. SDR will likely be around 500, and the slash lighting on the back has been upgraded from 7 to 35 lighting zones to make it look a bit smoother. But the most interesting part to me as a Zephyrus G16 owner is the new hinge design. The screen wobble was one of the few downsides I personally had with the last gen model, so it'll be great if that's fixed. The smaller Zephyrus G14 also gets similar improvements, including Intel for the first time with the 386H processor, brighter OLED screen, improved hinge, more lighting zones on the lid, and a smaller 10-watt boost to GPU power level, taking it from 120 watts to 130 watts with a 5080. It also moves from a smaller micro SD card slot on the right to a full-sized SD slot, a nice bonus for creators. And although there is still an AMD option, it seems that it's only available with the 2025 chassis. That sucks, but at least the 2026 chassis design isn't really that different compared to last gen. But it does mean you would be missing out on that extra GPU performance if you wanted to go AMD. And there was no news at all on an AMD version of the Zephyrus G16, and no Thunderbolt 5 on either the new G14 or G16 either, which I thought was kinda weird considering both of those laptops are basically the best ASUS has to offer, and they've both got Intel's latest and greatest platform. Oh, and the keyboards are still just one zone of RGB lighting, which definitely feels a bit dated now compared to the competition. ASUS's Tough A14 also gets an update with an AMD Strix Halo option this year, the Max Plus 392. And just a reminder, that's a 12-core 24-thread Zen 5 chip with their powerful 8060S integrated graphics. But they've still got an AMD CPU plus Nvidia GPU option too. Lenovo have a new Legion 7A gaming laptop featuring AMD's Ryzen 400 processors and Nvidia's RTX 50 series graphics. And this is basically an AMD version of their popular Legion 7i from last gen, but it's apparently 10% lighter and 5% thinner than last gen, presumably as AMD's Ryzen 400 processors use less power compared to Intel's HX chips from last gen. Lenovo specs say it will max out with RTX 5060 graphics, which is less than the 5070 that was available in last year's Intel model. They've also got the new Gen 11 versions of the Legion 5i and Legion 5a for Intel and AMD versions respectively, with Intel's new Core Ultra 3 series chips for the 5i and AMD's refreshed Ryzen 400 chips for the 5a. The OLED screen also increases a little from 15.1 inches last gen to 15.3 inches this gen. There wasn't any further information, so I'm assuming these are just a light spec bump. The lock also gets a CPU refresh and now has a 15.3 inch 16x10 IPS screen, which should make it look pretty nice, as honestly, the older 16x9 panel was starting to look a bit dated, and all those Lenovo devices will be coming in April 2026. Lenovo were also showing off their Legion Pro rollable concept, which leaked a few weeks back. Basically, you can turn the 16-inch OLED panel into a larger 24-inch screen in just a few seconds. Very cool, and I hope it becomes a real product. As for Acer, their Helios Neo 16S was one of the best-selling gaming laptops last year, as it offered some amazing value with RTX 5070 Ti graphics. So building on that success, this year Acer have downgraded it to an RTX 5070. Which takes it from a gaming laptop I could easily recommend to one I would only cautiously recommend. And that's due to the VRAM limit, which I covered in this video. Otherwise, the Helios also has Intel's new 386H processor, but honestly, that's probably going to be another downgrade compared to the last gen 275HX in terms of multi-core performance. According to Acer's press release, we're not actually going to see the new version until the third quarter of 2026. But honestly, I'd be completely fine if they just deleted this update and stuck with last year's version. The Nitro V16 and V16S also get the new Intel processors and go up to 5070 graphics too. But the Nitro series is meant to be a budget design, so I can at least understand it there. HP are uniting their Omen and HyperX branding together as HyperX. So the HP Omen Max 16 is now called a HyperX Omen Max 16, for example. I'm not really a fan, maybe it'll just take some getting used used to, but I suppose at least it's not as big of a downgrade as what Acer did to the Helios Neo 16S. Anyway, the Omen Max 16 gets an extra 50 watts of power this generation, or 20% extra, thanks to a redesigned thermal system and new 460 watt GAN charger for Intel, or 420 watts for AMD, as well as the yet-to-be-announced Intel 200HX processor refresh and AMD Ryzen 400 series processors, and it still goes up to RTX 5090 graphics. The keyboard is also 4 times faster with a higher 1000Hz polling rate, otherwise the chassis looks much the same but with a brighter OLED screen, and like most of the other new laptops, it's coming in spring 2026. They've also got the new Omen 15 with Intel and AMD options, an optional OLED screen and faster keyboard, and up to 170 watts of combined CPU and GPU power, with GPU options being 5050, 5060, or 5070. The Omen 16 has a higher combined 200 watt power limit with redesigned thermals, also with an OLED screen and faster keyboard. Based on the specs, it's a little more powerful and higher spec than the smaller 15-inch model. Meanwhile, Dell/Alienware are launching 2 new gaming laptops. First is a new ultra-slim gaming laptop at around 17mm thin in both 14 and 16-inch sizes. We don't know much about it yet, other than it's also coming in spring. It's been a couple of years since Alienware retired their 14-inch X14 R2, so it's nice to see them coming back to this smaller size. And they're also releasing a new entry-level gaming laptop, with no real information apart from this image. So we'll just have to wait and see. Dell also mentioned that their 16 Aurora 16X, 16 Area 51, and 18 Area 51 are all staying this year. But there was no mention of the 16 Aurora without the X. So my guess is they might be replacing their current entry-level Aurora with whatever this new entry-level option is. The existing Alienware 16X Aurora and Alienware 16 Area 51 also get OLED this year, which is something they were definitely missing as an option last year, and the press release notes it was one of the top requests from the community, so it's good to see that they listened, and brightness goes up to 620 nits. These laptops also mention the new, yet-to-be-announced Intel Core Ultra 200HX processor update, but no further details on what that involves yet. Gigabyte has some small but interesting news. The Aorus Master 16 is now available with AMD's 9955HX3D processor and still goes up to RTX 5090 graphics, rather than being limited to lower tier graphics like some other brands have done. ASUS. Gigabyte's Aero X16 just gets a CPU refresh to AMD's Ryzen 400 series. As for MSI, they're updating their Raider 16 series with a new Max version, which now features an optional OLED screen, a toolless bottom panel to make upgrades easier, and Intel's yet-to-be-announced HX processor refresh with a combined 300-watt CPU and GPU power budget. MSI's Stealth 16 is also going from Intel and AMD options to Intel only this year, which seems to be a trend. The news from XMG sounds a bit more interesting. Their new Element 16 is a collaboration with Intel to make a semi-modular, repair-friendly laptop, also coming in spring. We're talking about a quick-release bottom panel to make getting inside easy, a removable keyboard, and even replaceable modules for the ports on both the left and right sides, kinda like what Framework does. They're planning on having motherboard upgrades to go from Intel's Core Ultra 3 series to future platforms. There's no mention of discrete graphics, but as we've seen from Intel, their new integrated graphics should still be capable of some gaming. Meanwhile, Razer didn't have any laptop-specific announcements, but I'd be very surprised if we don't start seeing the refreshed processors in their Blade 14, 16, and 18. All things considered, most of these laptops are just minor improvements over what was available last year. So honestly, if you bought in 2025 before RAM prices started going up, you're doing pretty well. I wouldn't worry too much about any of these new announcements, unless there's some specific model that you really want, like say ASUS's Zephyrus Duo 16 with the dual screens. And it's also cool that Lenovo finally have an AMD version of the Legion 7. Once these laptops start going on sale, you'll find the best prices at our gaminglaptop.deals website. Check it out with the link below to save money on your next gaming laptop. We're going to review as many of these new gaming laptops as we can as soon as we can. So make sure you're subscribed to the channel so you don't miss anything.